be there for you. Call for a free consultation and find out how Liberty Law can protect your rights and interests. That's 877-42-LIBERTY, 877-42-LIBERTY, or visit libertylawnebraska.com. Liberty Law Group, trial attorneys you can trust.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Hey, farmers. Do you run a precision planting monitor in your planter tractor? Voigt Farm Outfitters is hosting our annual 2020 Monitor Clinic at the Holthus Center in York on Wednesday, March 19th. They'll run through everything on the monitor, from basic setup to more complex downforce settings and everything in between. You'll learn agronomy principles behind some of the monitor settings and will leave refreshed and ready to plant. Representatives from Precision Planting will be on hand to handle any questions that you can throw at them. Visit VoigtFarmOutfitters.com for all the details and to reserve your spot.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
At Jimmy John's, we don't make sandwiches. We make the sandwich of sandwiches. We use fresh veggies because we don't hate salads. We just feel bad for them. We make our sandwiches exactly how you want because you're the one who's eating it. And we bake bread all day, every day, because stale bread isn't bread. It's croutons. Sandwich history is written by the victors. Good thing we have legible handwriting. Jimmy John's, the sandwich of sandwiches. Order pickup or delivery on the app.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at PAHLincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, their passion for happier, healthier, furry friends.
It's time to go one-on-one with DP. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Derek Pearson, brought to you by Canopy Street Market.
Boom. In your face on a Saturday in Lincoln, Nebraska. Appreciate you hanging out here on 93.7 The Ticket. Grateful. And it's a beautiful morning. Crisp is what my grandmother would call it. 402-464-5685 is the Starter Heyman text line. If you want to be a part of what we're doing, be a part of the conversation, you can. Hit us with a what's up. How you doing? Blessing, coach, good morning, whatever you want to say. And we will include you in the conversation. You can also follow us live on the video streams, Facebook, YouTube, X, and Allo channel 961. And you probably should. He is a walking medical miracle. He is kind of a North Star for how we're supposed to take care of ourselves. And it's humbling to sit next to this gentleman, several times a week, because I have to do better. I have to do better. He is the legend, Coach Ron Brown. Coach, how you doing this morning?
I'm good, but you got to look below sea level. and the sea level is SEE level,
right?
You know what I'm saying? My toenails hurt. Right? I'm sitting in here, man, at 68 years old. everything hurts. So
isn't that just the way? Like you just go, listen, you know, you try to tell people each day is a blessing, and to try to look at it that way specifically, so that I go into that day refreshed and refreshed. Today is 22,862. 22,862. That's how many sunrises, sunsets, opportunities, blessings I have in my life. Chances to get better, chances to get smarter, to meet new people, to learn new information, learn new lessons, and honor new blessings. So I keep track of that each day. This is the only 22,862 I'm ever going to get.
All right. So let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
That then.
Yes, sir.
How many times in those 22,000 plus days has the sun really risen?
Each and every one.
Amen. All
each
right.
and every,
All right.
each and every one. It's another thing. I have a shirt. I used to say that to my players that no matter what stresses you carried into your day, no matter what friction you encounter, no matter what thing you've given worry to, no matter what thing that you had doubts about, nothing, not one thing has ever defeated you. You're undefeated. If we're able to have this conversation, you are undefeated, you are blessed, and you are good. Go and do good. Like it's always, and the players, it was like, if you're struggling, you're struggling. It's okay to struggle.
That's right.
It's okay to struggle. Embrace the struggle. We talk about the friction, and we say that friction happens. In sports, sometimes we'll call it chaos. And it's another thing that, basketball speak or football with my receivers, that when friction happens, slow down and friction ceases to exist. If you just pause and then use that as leverage to advance forward and up from wherever you are.
Yeah, I like that.
Right? Like, listen, there are people that they talk about, man, I'm hustling, I'm grinding. Don't grind, crush. Grinding means you've allowed friction to hold you in a certain place and speed, and it is in the crushing that you start to advance and you can move forward and up.
Yeah, and I've heard the Navy SEALs say this all the time. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your training. And I think there's one of the great things that I know my dad did growing up was the training of you just don't get your own way, and you're not going to sit around this house and it's not going to be just about your feelings. There are, love demands that you rise above just your needs and you move into the world of other people. So anyhow, I've always loved that attitude. I haven't always accepted it. I've had my many, many, many moments of selfishness, but I do believe that is an accurate statement. We don't fall back. We fall back on our training. We don't rise to the occasion.
Well, we push that everything that you love requires action. It requires action, and every action requires love. The two are so finitely connected that in every great moment of your life and our existence, love and action met and got busy.
No doubt.
It's the thing, right? And you say, don't fall back. Hey, man, pause. What is the friction? What's it keeping you from doing? What are you trying to do? And now what do you know to do? What do you know to do?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think love does create initiation. And that's true of whether you're coaching or whether you're taking care of your family, whatever it is that you're doing. But I know if I truly say that I love somebody, I'm going to create some level of initiation to exemplify, to be a doer of that love.
Yeah, it's required. Like it literally, I can say that I love a thing. I can say that, you know what, I love football. I love football. But I have to show. I have to be active in it. You tell players all the time, don't tell me, it's that thing you get from parents, but he loves the game. Yeah, but is he active in loving the game? Is he doing the work when nobody's looking, right? When Coach Brown isn't there, is he loving the game at the same level as the people he's competing against?
Yeah.
It's always that line to parents. Listen, Johnny and Teddy, both of them love football. One of them is actively loving it a little bit more, and here's how.
Yeah. You know, that Coach K story about Kobe Bryant, you and I have shared this before, but about him saying that, look, man, if we're going to win the Olympic gold medal, we got to hit standstill 3-point jump shots. We got to hit our free throws. And Kobe Bryant was the only guy on that U.S. Olympic team, according to Coach K, that stayed after every single day and took 1,000 standstill 3-point jump shots every day on his own. And you say, well, that's grueling. But see, you don't run through a brick wall for someone or something unless you love it. You don't do it out of hate. You don't do it out of revenge. You don't do it out of, look at me. You do it out of love for something that exceeds you to that level. And so I always thought that was a great metaphor, great speech, reminder of, not only basketball, but in everything you do.
It's constant that in those great spaces, and again, love without action, you can't be great. You can be good. Love is good. Love is good. Being active is good. It's to be great, they have to be done together. and it has to be consistent. It has to be consistent. From the text line, we have a question for you, Coach. It says, what was the separating factor when recruiting all-star running backs that you did? And that's a part of our conversation today. Is we're gonna go to the Professor Brown's recruiting master's class and break down some things on what this thing that is. And if you're a parent and you have a young person that's going through this process, get a pad and pen. If you're an athlete and you have questions, get a pad and pen. Because today in this hour, I want to take you through some of these things that Coach Brown has been through. Now, let's start with running backs, since that's the text that we have. What are you looking for? What are the things that separate those that you choose to be a part of your squad and those that you do not?
Well, I just want to go back, even before whatever position that it was that we were recruiting and so forth. When I first started in the early 1980s in the Ivy League school that I played at and then eventually coached at, we didn't have athletic scholarships to give in the Ivy League. We had to go out all over the country because we had to recruit nationally to find not only kids who were good enough to play at that level, but also smart enough in terms of the classroom stuff. And so I had to do a lot of research. And so I had to develop some habits that I didn't normally have, DP. I'm just thinking, oh boy, what do I do now? I don't know what to do with it. They've asked me, I'm like a 10-year-old kid. They've given me the keys to the car to drive in the Indy 500. I'm sitting right here.
Go.
I don't know.
Hey, Ryan, ready? Wave the flag. Go. What direction? Go where they're going.
Yeah. I'm in my mid-20s and I'm barely older than a lot of these kids that I'm recruiting. And so, let me give you a few thoughts that I had over the years. First of all, like later on, when I had children, I had my oldest daughter was being recruited, not in sports, but in acting and musical production and, dancing and singing and all of that. Well, it's a little different than college football. You don't have all these coaches circling around and calling her every night and all that kind of stuff. But the first thing I wanted to know, DP, was not how are they recruiting her? How are they treating her? Who is she to them? In other words, I'm looking for somebody to look at her not just as a recruit, but actually as a whole person. So that was the first thing on my list when I went out and recruited was, boy, I mean, did these kids and his mom and dad and the people surrounding the young man know that I care about him? And how do I care about him? I mean, I really don't know him yet. How can I say, oh, I love you, you this, that, and that? You know what? I figure out a way how to get to know this kid. So I made a pact with myself that every single day I was going to be writing letter after letter after letter. And I know this was a little before the phones and all that, the texting and the call. But you know what? We were allowed calling, but I wrote handwritten letters. I wrote at least 100 handwritten notes to every kid I was recruiting. So every single day, FedEx was up there at the university, and I was, whether it was at Brown University or whether it was at University of Nebraska, they were coming and getting letters from me to dish out. And I was I was sending letters not only to the kid, but mom and dad and some of the other people, the coach and so forth. But the handwritten letters, there's something about a handwritten letter, even today, in today's day and age of technology, when you have to literally look at the person that had to write things on that envelope, they have a return address, you have to open that envelope, somebody has written down, it might be 1 page, it might be 8 pages, I don't know, but there was something that went into that. And that's what I did every single day. And when you have a FedEx letter that goes out, you want it there overnight. So almost every day, a lot of these kids were getting a letter from me to their family in some way or some form, where I was getting to learn about them and they were getting to respond to me as well. The next thing that I thought was really important, we've already talked about today, is what's below SEE level. I was recruiting a young man named Mike Brown years later when I was here. Mike was a great safety out of Arizona. And, there were over 100 scholarship offers for him. But I had to figure out, how do I connect mom and dad to this equation? So he had a little bit of a difficult family situation. His mom and dad were divorced, and they were both remarried. Mom and her new husband and Mike lived in Arizona, but dad and his new wife and his little brother lived in Florida. So when you're recruiting, and a lot of times a staff might just say, well, he's in Arizona, so just make sure you get there a lot, which I did. I was out there every week to see that young man. But somehow, some way, I had to get to dad because Mike had told me, and I saw it below SEE level, that his dad was really important, even though he lived with his mom. And so I had to figure out ways to get to Arizona and Florida in the same week so that dad would be updated with Nebraska football just like mom would. And that was extra work, but again, that comes from, wow, this is really important to this kid. At the end of the day, we ended up getting Mike Brown, and usually the way the system worked, the rules worked, is when you saw the kid that day. Let's say I went to see Mike out in Arizona on Thursday, I had to see mom, dad, or any other relative on the same day. So here I am flying miles and miles and miles. I'm hitting Mike Brown early in the morning, and then I'm flying like crazy all the way back to Tallahassee, Florida to see dad. And I get there by 9 o'clock at night just to see him for maybe 30 minutes. So it goes back when you start looking at people and it's not just about a convenience thing for you, but you really start to fall in love with some of these kids. You start to realize, man, this is really important to this young man that his dad is involved in this process. Now it's like, I'm starting to fall in love with this kid. I'm going to break down the wall to go see dad. In other words, it leads to extra work. So I believe that when you are loving these kids the way we should be, it's going to be like, well, you know what? I'm willing to go that extra mile. Our work ethic is going to highly increase. So those are two things that really hit me hard in the process. And the other thing, the last thing I want to say is that sometimes it doesn't pan out. Sometimes you're going after a kid. I remember when I got here in the 80s, I was recruiting a defensive lineman from McAlester, Oklahoma. And Coach Osborne put the rookie in the state of Oklahoma. I mean, that was not going to be easy to go down to Oklahoma and get a kid because we were all in the same conference then in the Big 8. So I went down to recruit this kid in McAlester. No player from Oklahoma had ever come and played in Nebraska, a scholarship kid right out of high school. Well, as I'm recruiting him, this kid, I was going against a guy, remember Houston Nutt?
Yep.
Houston was an assistant coach at Oklahoma State at the time. The kid's parents had gone to Oklahoma State. So Houston felt like, I think I got this one made. Kid was a good defensive lineman. I'm saying I'm going to battle him. I'm going to fight him. I don't care, man. I'm not going to let this coach outwork me. I'm going to give it my very best, whether I get the kid or not. But, again, it couldn't be just about Ron Brown. It had to be about that family, that kid. Well, as we were going through the process, we ended up on signing date getting the kid. I remember this was back in the days when the assistant coaches could be out on signing date and show up at the house just in time, 7 o'clock in the morning with the papers in hand.
Yeah.
And I beat Houston Nutt to the doorstep that day. Anyhow, that kid signed with Nebraska that day. But sadly, DP, he just a couple months later, he was diagnosed with leukemia. And so now he's fighting for his life at the UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles. They're looking for a proper bone marrow match and so forth, and nothing's happening. And I end up going to the hospital to see the kid. He had signed with us. He was excited about it, but we weren't sure he was going to ever play again. And as he's laying in the bed there, you could see that it was going to be tough. I talked to the doctors. I knew the doctors. And Coach Osborne, we continued to keep his scholarship. We didn't drop him. We kept the scholarship offer to him. It didn't look like he was probably ever going to play again. But yet, this is what love does. Love says, I'm going to come visit you anyhow. Love says, I'm going to be with mom and dad and you as you're going through this anyhow. And when I was there, there was a Christian bookstore right next to that hospital in downtown LA there. And during a break in the action there, I walked over there and I found a Bible and I brought it to young Victor Stochmas. And I had the opportunity to share with Victor that day. We talked about death. We talked about life. We talked about the reality. He was optimistic, but he wasn't real sure. That day, DP gave his life to the Lord Jesus Christ. He trusted him as his Lord and Savior. And that kid had tears flowing down his face. He had this incredible, exuberant smile. And that was the last time I saw Victor. Victor ended up dying shortly thereafter. But I look back at all that, man, and I say, well, is any of this a waste? No. And so I'll close with this. I know I've given you a long answer, but I'll close with this, that in the recruiting process, it's really important that I believe that I leave a deposit of what our school represents, about who I represent, and mostly I want to see that young man pointed to the right direction. And so we went to that funeral. It was myself and Coach Osborne, Milt Tenneper, our offensive line coach, and Houston Nutt, who didn't get the kid. He was there at the funeral. So I just sum it all up by saying, man, I just want recruiting to be about a wholesome, integrous process where we actually care about the kid more than we do our own recruiting stats.
We keep saying in these hours that it is more important to choose good over the game and choosing those opportunities to enhance, to leave it better than we found it. And if you keep doing that, you build a legacy, and that's how you become a legend. We'll throw it to break. We'll come back more with the legendary coach, Ron Brown, breaking it down on a Saturday on 93.7 The Ticket.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl Jordan with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Picture this. You're in the doghouse and flowers just won't cut it this time. Enter jewelry, the ultimate peace offering. It's a gesture that speaks volumes, showing her you're willing to go the extra mile to make things right. So next time you're in the doghouse, remember, diamonds are a guy's best friend too. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
Hey farmers, do you run a precision planting monitor in your planter tractor? Voigt Farm Outfitters is hosting our annual 2020 Monitor Clinic at the Holthus Center in York on Wednesday, March 19th. They'll run through everything on the monitor, from basic setup to more complex downforce settings and everything in between. You'll learn agronomy principles behind some of the monitor settings and will leave refreshed and ready to plant. Representatives from Precision Planting will be on hand to handle any questions that you can throw at them. Visit VoigtFarmOutfitters.com for all the details and to reserve your spot.
A lot of businesses say that they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business feels anything but for your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, as they do with customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
Unearth the secret to long-lasting tires at Tread's Central Tire Pros, a league apart in commitment, service, and expertise. This isn't just about rubber meeting the road, but trust, safety, and surety converging in perfect harmony. This is where expectations are exceeded every time. Make your appointment today at Tread Central Tire Pros, just south of Cortland on Highway 77, or visit our website to explore our services. Remember, when it comes to tires, choose Tread Central Tire Pros because we tread differently.
What's going on, fans? This is Lexi Rodriguez, four-time All-American at Nebraska and now proud member of Omaha's newest professional team, Love Omaha Volleyball. League One Volleyball is bringing the heat this year. Don't miss your chance to see Olympians, national players, and national champions right here in Omaha from now through April. We can't wait to see you cheering us on in the stands. Visit lovboma.com to buy single match tickets to see me and Love Omaha Volleyball in action this season. Go Big Green.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and on behalf of the entire Koppel team, we would like to say thank you to all of our loyal customers and employees that have allowed us to become one of the most successful GM dealerships in the country for the past 50 years. So we are celebrating that with some huge discounts. Right now, we have up to $13,500 off MSRP or 0% APR on select new models, and new Blazer EVs are leasing for $279 a month with zero down. So check us out online at koppelcars.com. All deals with approved credit. See dealer for details.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Hey, bestie. Whoa, how'd you snag that awesome set of wheels? I'm in the market for a new car, too. My friends at Members Own Credit Union. You're always in the driver's seat when it comes to your finances at Members Own.
Always in the driver's seat, huh?
Yep. They set you up with a loan that makes sense for your budget with great rates and top-notch customer service to boot.
Looks like we're going to need to make a pit stop.
Let's go. I'll drive. Hit the road to financial success and explore auto loan options with your best financial friend, Members Own Credit Union. For details, go to membersowncu.org/drive. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hello, this is Mary Pat Waite. I've had the privilege of working with Lincoln Families as their realtor for more than 31 years, and I'm so proud to be associated with MP Dodge Real Estate. For me, your transaction is unique in its own way. My experience allows me to bring you trusted care and a really great outcome. My NP Dodge family shares the same client focus.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
It may not feel like it, but planting season is on its way, and now's the time to upgrade your equipment with a late model John Deere planter from Acres Equipment. Acres has an entire lineup of John Deere planters equipped with the latest technology to ensure planting accuracy throughout your field. And to get you up and going, each planter purchased from Acres includes in-field startup support from one of our Precision Ag professionals. Warmer weather is coming soon, so don't delay. Visit your local Acres for details. Offer expires April 30th, 2025.
There's no place like McKinney's Irish Pub for St. Patrick's Day, so mark your calendars to join in on the fun for their 11th annual Street Festival. The party starts on Saturday, March 15th, with tons of giveaways, a kilt contest, great Irish food, and green beer, and continues on Monday the 17th for actual St. Patrick's Day. Doors open for the bar at 11 a.m. on Saturday and 9 a.m. on Monday, and the street party starts at 2 p.m. both days. Don't miss out on great music and great fun with no cover charge for St. Patrick's Day weekend at McKinney's 8th and P in the Haymarket.
I used to smoke. I thought of cigarettes as my best friend.
They were always there for me when I needed a break.
I also thought cigarettes were my best friend, and then they gave me peripheral artery disease.
I smoked and had a stroke. Actually, multiple strokes.
I smoked and have heart disease. Here's my tip. If cigarettes are your friend, you need a better friend.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're listening to One-on-One with DP. Brought to you by Canopy Street Market on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
He is Coach Ron Brown, and we're in the recruiting masters class of, from one side, from the coach's side, who they have to be, who they need to be, who they want to be, and then from what they're looking for in their young people and how those relationships happen. And It is a statement of truth, Robert, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in my mind, it's a statement of truth that recruiting is relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe it is very much relationships. And I would say this too. And over the years, I've seen the media evaluate recruiting and recruiters by a kind of a 2-month or 3-month, maybe 1-year process.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said to myself, that is ridiculous. I mean, honestly, I do. I say, really, what you want to look at, you want to know who the best recruiters are? Who recruited this guy? Who recruited that guy? Who recruited this guy? Who recruited that guy? Maybe 5 or 6 years later. Let's say that they went to the NFL. They were great talent. They had great careers. Who recruited that guy? Who recruited Grant Wistrom? Who recruited Mike Brown? Who recruited Johnny Mitchell? Who recruited Michael Booker? Who recruited this guy, this guy, this guy? And you'll see that a lot of the same names show up.
Mm-hmm.
You may have 3 or 4 guys on the staff that their names keep showing up. Well, they're probably your best recruiters, but you don't. That's like saying, you know what, we got a steak that we put on and we've cooked it for about 1 minute. It's a big, thick steak, and now it's time to eat. No, it's not time to eat yet. You don't know how good that steak was until you've cooked it all, and then everybody's eating. You know what I mean? And it's put some muscle on our bones. Then you say, oh, that was a good steak.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with recruiting, I believe. I don't think, you give awards out and all these honors and they had the best recruiting class and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, 4 or 5 years later, you realize maybe 80% of the class was a bust. So I just don't understand how we evaluate. I think you have to look over the long haul. And after a while, you begin to see some really good results that show up. And then you ask those recruiters or those teams and so forth, hey, what do you guys do to, do this? Because, hey, you seem to be on track here with the follow through of these recruits. It may have been a 2-star guy or a 3-star guy that you're recruiting. He ended up being a 4 or 5-star. Well, that's the right recruit. You got the right guy. He ends up being a really good player and going on to do great things.
I'm often fascinated before I got here, I treated college recruiting as fantasy football because there's a star system that makes people mentally lazy without understanding what the star system is. And somebody will, hey, Coach Brown, there's a 2-star, there's a 3-star, there's a 1-star. What star is integrity? What star is heart? What star is family? What star is willingness to get in the film room and work? What star is hustle? What star is, hey, I'm willing to go to the gym one more time than the person I'm competing with? What star is your ability to go to bed on time? What star is nutritional value? What star, like you, for an outsider looking in, it's mentally lazy to think you have an understanding for what any football staff wants and needs as a player who is a part of the recipe for their culture of football more than the coaches who do the recruiting.
Yeah. DP, it's not an easy job. It's a tough job. But one of the things that over the years I've always felt like was I wanted to look at more than just a highlight reel as well. I wanted to see some of the bad plays. I wanted to see some of the plays where he could have taken a play off versus really going after it real hard. You want to, again, that C-level thing, going underneath what we see even on film. Film is important. Being at games and watching live is really important, but being able to study a guy when things are a little bit out of sync for him, or it's a play away where he doesn't have to hustle very much, you learn a lot about a person by what they're doing when no one's looking, but you also learn a lot about a person, what they're doing when everybody's looking.
But that was the depth when I came up with the idea of a recruiting show and just asking you questions about the things that matter to you and the things that you've experienced, because it is not what the average fan or family thinks it is.
Yeah, and it's not evaluated that way. I mean, some of my buddies way back in the day, they used to be on all these calls and so forth, and who's recruiting this and who's doing that. I'm saying, you know what, buddy? I told one of my buddies, I said, you need to get rid of all that stuff. I said, you are not going to know anything until 4 or 5 years down the road. I said, what? I mean, I remember one time years ago, there was one coach who got selected as the recruiter of the year, and he had got maybe 3 guys from an area or something, and they were pretty good high school players. I think by October, all of them had left. So I said, well, he's got a nice award there, but you got no players. They're gone.
Well, we call that we from the high school coach side to the collegiate level. That's me telling Coach Brown, this kid's popcorn. It's popcorn. Look, it's convenient. It fits a need, but there's no nutritional value, and it's not really going to help you long term.
and you know, to be on the fair side of things, you don't always know. So I mean, it doesn't mean that coach was wrong in recruiting those kids. I'm saying is that there were media awards given out to that coach before the meat was cooked, and see that can influence a whole lot of people. So a whole bunch of people saying, oh, this guy, 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, you know, whatever it is, we got all these ratings, and we're rating way before it's time to rate, is what I'm saying.
I think the recruiting side, and this is the beauty of having this conversation with you, is asking the thing that you look for in a player or a person to be in your program. Now, there are filler recruits, you know, guys that fill a need. There are guys that can change a program, but I think it's almost as important the players that you turn down, because they're program changers, and then they're program killers who you put a whole lot of resource and time and energy into, and there's simply no way for the return on investment to be worth it for Coach Ron Brown, because you have a different standard, a different need, a different way of doing this, and you have to make sure that nobody comes in and negates the good work you've done.
Yeah, and you know, DP, I just remember while you were talking, I was just thinking, yep, he's hitting something that's striking a nerve, because back in the early 90s, we were recruiting Cordell Stewart out of Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great player.
Yep.
I mean, probably the best.
Slash was special.
Best run pass option type quarterback in the country. We were running the option then, but he could throw the ball. He proved that he could be a good drop back thrower and so forth. But as we recruited Cordell, we liked him, and he was a kid that had a lot of good things going for him. But we got our eyeballs on another kid that nobody would have suspected that we would ever want to recruit, named Brooke Barringer out of Goodland, Kansas. And I happened to be recruiting that area. And so I went down to see Brooke, and then he came up to our summer camp, and Coach Osborne really fell in love with him and just said, man, he's every bit as big as Cordell Stewart, probably not as quick and athletic, but he's pretty close, and he's a pretty good athlete.
Yeah.
But a great throwing arm. I mean, he had an NFL arm, no doubt. But anyhow, we as we went through the process, Coach Osborne leaned toward Brooke, and we decided we're going to go with Brooke. We had to wait on Cordell. We weren't quite sure we were going to get him. Brooke was not highly recruited, and we chose Brooke Barringer. And I think there were a lot of people that said, what are you guys doing? I mean, you've used up your quarterback spot for this. You had a chance maybe to get Cordell Stewart, but you know what? We looked beyond just what we saw on the outward. We looked interiorly, and we also had the kid in camp, which was helpful because now we got to know him and so forth and see him up live. Well, at the end of the day, they both come here. Tommy Frazier comes here. Now everybody's saying, well, you know, look at Brooke. He's not. But then Tommy Frazier gets hurt. And now it just so happens that Cordell Stewart goes against Brooke Barringer in 1994 for the biggest regular season game of the year. Yeah. This is going to determine who's going to be national championship. And Cordell Stewart had already thrown the Hail Mary to win the Michigan game early in the year. And they had the Heisman Trophy winner, Rashad Salam, with them. They had a great defense.
Westbrook at receiver, Ray Caruth.
They had a bunch of freaks.
Yeah, man.
and now here's unknown Brooke Barringer, now having to lead the troops. I'll tell you what. That kid put on a show. We beat them. I mean, it was just a butt whooping. And you know what? I look at that and I go, wow. I'm so glad that I'm in a program that looks, I mean, obviously you got to recruit talent, no question, but it also looks underneath, below sea level. And we saw something really special with Brooke Berenker. And he was obviously instrumental in that year and us winning a national championship.
What made him, and he is so deeply entrenched in Nebraska football lore, for a variety of reasons in several moments, but behind the scenes, behind, below sea level.
Yeah.
What was the thing that made Brooke so great?
There were a lot of intangibles about him as a young man. His dad had died when he was a little boy. He's grown up with a little bit of that trauma, but he wasn't highly recruited. He comes to Nebraska, and then the best option quarterback in America comes to Nebraska while he's there, Tommy Frazier. So now he's sitting the bench. Brooke is sitting the bench for 2 to 3 years, and then Tommy gets hurt, and Brooke now gets a chance to do the thing that he always wanted to do, and he does it. It's amazing. His confidence level has grown, and he helps lead us to a national title. But honestly, DP, his best year wasn't 94 when he was a junior, helping us win the Miami game in the Orange Bowl to win a national title. His most outstanding, I think, demonstration of who he was inside was the next year, his senior year, when Frazier beat him out for the starting position. They both had 1 year left, and Brooke hardly played that whole year. He did not create mutiny in that locker room. He went around the state. He poured into people. He took on a whole new life. As a new Christian, he was just excited about his faith. It hurt him that he wasn't starting. So he's a real human being like all of us. And he probably felt like, man, I don't know if anybody believes in me, but he kept at it. He made everybody on our football team better by the way he showed up each day, unselfish and a giver. And I'll tell you, when he was still going to be probably a 3rd or 4th round draft pick in the National Football League, unfortunately died in the plane crash the day before the NFL draft. But that all of that put a light on what was inside of that kid. It wasn't just his physical ability, which he had quite a bit of. It was who he was inside when the chips were up and when the chips were down. He handled the test of both prosperity and adversity with tremendous grace.
Yeah, I think that thing in recruiting and making those choices with young people, that how you are when things aren't going your way is almost always as important as who you are when things are going well.
And I love the fact that, as a staff, that's what we were looking at as well. We weren't just looking on the outward ability. We have notable examples such as that show us that we were looking underneath the hood. It wasn't just a pretty car sitting in a driveway.
Mm-hmm.
We lifted up the hood and see if that car was really going to run under all conditions.
It is just vital, and it's why I wanted to have this conversation with you. And again, I apologize in advance. There's no way we can get to everything that I want to ask him or that he wants to pour on us, but we'll do it again next week, and that's how we do it. Toward the break. Come back. We'll finish up this hour with the legend Ron Brown here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine. The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeyman electricians from $32.50 to $42.50 per hour with paid benefits. And if you're looking for a new career, they're hiring apprentices at $19.50 per hour with paid benefits. Call the office at 402-423-4497 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
At Lincoln Family Chiropractic, they believe everyone deserves to live a pain-free and active life. Whether it's neck pain, shoulder pain, or lower back pain, Lincoln Family Chiropractic specializes in customized care for every patient to promote faster healing, allowing you to get back to an optimal life. Lincoln Family Chiropractic's team specializes in treatments such as dry needling, cupping therapy, and traditional adjustments. Give Lincoln Family Chiropractic a call today, 402-484-5166. Visit them online at lincolnfamilychiro.com or in person, 1 block south of 70th and 8th Street in Lincoln.
Healing the heart takes heart. Our dedicated team of cardiac experts is here for you with breakthrough treatments for serious conditions and expert advice for living longer with a healthier heart. We bring healing care to our community with over 90 cardiology specialists and subspecialists and more than 50 locations across Nebraska, Southwest Iowa, and Northern Kansas. Find out how we heal hearts with heart, starting with yours at chihealth.com/heart.
Hey volleyball fans, this is Laura Dijkema, National Player of the Netherlands and now the setter on Omaha's newest professional team, Love Omaha Volleyball. League volleyball is bringing the heat this year. Don't miss your chance to see Olympians, national players and national champions right here in Omaha from now through April. We can't wait to see you cheering for us in the stands. Visit lovboma.com to buy single match tickets to see me and Love Omaha volleyball in action. Go Big Green!
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call today at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Davis Plumbing has been in business for over 15 years and is currently searching for journeyman plumbers to join their team. Experience is preferred, but not required for all applicants. When you join the team at Davis Plumbing, you'll receive full benefits package with paid time off. Join a small local business doing big things in Lincoln and surrounding areas. Apply today by calling 402-525-6922 or find them on social media. Davis Plumbing, locally owned and operated for over 15 years.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all the ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most, for all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car troubles. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safe. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown, always honest answers.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl Jordan with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. When it comes to gift giving, it's all about the wow factor. And let me tell you, nothing wows quite like jewelry. Whether it's a delicate necklace or a statement ring, jewelry makes the right statement. So if you want to knock her socks off, or anything else for that matter, skip the generic gifts and go straight for the bling. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
You're listening to One-on-One with DP, sponsored by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It has been a quick hour. That's kind of how it works when you're talking to Ron Brown. He breaks it down for you and giving you insight and information. Coach, you've recruited several positions. And I know in the development of different positions, it's just easier to get some kids at different positions recruited. But on the coaching side, as a recruiter, is there a position that causes some greater friction in trying to figure out who can play for you and who can't?
Well, I think you always want to get the right guy at quarterback. I mean, that's always a big thing. I've noticed over the years, like when I first got here in the 80s, a lot of my receivers, like I had the wide receivers, the tight ends, and the wingbacks.
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those guys, the wide receiver type guys, the wide receivers and the wing backs, they were all like former quarterbacks, former running backs, guys that could play DB. They were guys that were multidimensional, fast, quick, powerful kids that could play a variety of different positions. And that's kind of, when we recruited, we looked at them positionally, but we were very open to having them, maybe move to the other side of the ball or move to another position. You look at Tony Veland, for example. Tony Veland was a great quarterback in high school. Cluster Johnson was a really good quarterback in high school. Those guys came here. They started off at the quarterback position, but then they got flushed out. Cluster came with me as one of my wing backs and was a really good player. Tony Veland went to the safety spot, became a great player, and played in the National Football League for a while. So, that I think it was just making sure you had the right kind of kid in there that was athletic, and then you find out kind of when he gets here, kind of where you can disperse him.
Well, some of that appears to be, and I've said this to Cluster's face. Cluster was just a football player. What position he ended up at almost was a matter of circumstance.
Well, I went out on a limb, and I've told Cluster this numerous times when we were trying to figure out what do we do with Cluster Johnson. I raised my hand up. I was a young receiver coach. I said, let me have Cluster Johnson. I will take Cluster Johnson in a minute because we got the itty bitty committee out there, and they're good blockers. I mean, they were terrific blockers. But I said we could use a big guy in the slot to handle some of those nickel bucks that were playing out there at that time. And I said Cluster's a powerful kid, and he was terrific. I mean, he was really an unsung hero. He didn't get probably the credit he deserved on our national championship teams, but he was a really good player.
Who that leads me to this? Who is Clusters? Give me another Cluster, somebody that is undervalued in the championship runs that simply they fit a very specific need for Huskers to have the success they did.
Well, I think Terrell Farley was a different guy. It's hard to say, should he be a defensive back? Should he be a linebacker? Who is he? But I think our defense had enough flexibility. They did a really good job at spraying him around and allowing him not to be so regimented that he couldn't do the great things that he did. Plus, we got him on special teams. He was a great field blocker. He blocked punts and field goals and all kinds of stuff. But I think the flexibility to move those guys around. Trev Albers was a guy, who's a very good player. But when we got his hand on the ground in his final year, that's when he really started to take off. Sometimes, it takes a while to find out where does this kid really fit and what system will fit him really well. And sometimes it's just a tweak here and a tweak there. And then you've just unleashed a bomb. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The whole thing you mentioned Farley, and my knowledge of Farley as an outsider looking in was athlete. But then it became when you look at his film, Terrell Farley was a cerebral assassin. That guy saw the game play out in front of him at a much slower speed than anybody else. Like the game slowed down for him. He was like, oh, this is going to open up. That's going to be my lane. I'll get there. That's where it's coming. That's the leverage I need to take. Somebody had to be an amazing coach to identify that.
Well, I thought Charlie McBride and Craig Bowl did a really good job of figuring out where does Farley fit? How do we fit him? And they gave him some latitude. He wandered around out there sometimes and he'll took that gap, but there was a rhyme to the reason. And then he had like what you're saying, he had that kind of that sixth sense, man. He really had a good football mind out there in terms of what to do to make a play.
Yeah. And I always said, I wish somebody had found Farley and let him be their Wilbur Marshall. Like, because Wilbur wasn't he wasn't a big backer, but he could run and he liked violence and it was a certain thing. And it's interesting that you said Trev putting his hand in the dirt because some scouting reports from that day almost preferred him standing up.
Well, he could have done both, but I think, and just like Grant Wistrom, when we recruited Grant Wistrom, I remember I was recruiting Grant Wistrom, and when we moved, we told Grant we're going to go to a 4-man front, and where you're not going to be a guy that's sometimes standing up and coming, sometimes you're standing up and you're dropping. No, you're gonna have your hand on the ground as a true defensive end, and I think that was really integral in the recruiting process for him. And he decided that he could trust us that way. We put his hand in the dirt, and he was something.
I think it's an underscored tribute that needs to be said for the coaching staff of those Husker teams for identifying, one, to recruit, manage, and develop that depth of players, that huge quantity of quality players, to get them here and then manage them, right? Because again, in most programs, Cluster would be the guy. He would be guy number one, right? But no, here it's a thing, right? I'm impressed by what that coaching staff did, because you guys managed that staff at a elite level.
Well, and I think we're about that now. I think we look at athletes and you always want to try to figure out where can they best help the program and yet be integrous with them about, here's how we recruited you, but hey, how about this? I mean, it's been I've appreciated the way we've been doing things now, and I do see that back in the day that we were able to get over the hump sometimes with just one or two guys doing something different than what they had been doing, maybe than how they were recruited. We just made a slight an adaptation here or there, and away we went.
It is, again, it is an honor to have you pour into the pool of knowledge and information, the historical reference for all of that, and then eyes forward and giving Husker fans something to look forward to in this football program. Because if you're carrying this love and this knowledge into this year's program, they'll be all right. They'll be all right. Coach, thank you once again. We'll do it again Wednesday if you have time. Don't go anywhere. The rep session with old number 9, Taylor Made. Steve Taylor will take over the microphone here on 93.7 The Ticket. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
At Lincoln Family Chiropractic, they believe everyone deserves to live a pain-free and active life. Whether it's neck pain, shoulder pain, or lower back pain, Lincoln Family Chiropractic specializes in customized care for every patient to promote faster healing, allowing you to get back to an optimal life. Lincoln Family Chiropractic's team specializes in treatments such as dry needling,